Hello. What you're watching is one of our first episodes of Marijuana Straight Talk. I'm Becca Williams, your host. On today's show, we have the woman who's on the side of our citizens, creating an organization that wants to ensure consumer rights and all that that means when it comes to cannabis. Also, we introduce you to a young man who's rallying college students to action in order to create a climate in our country for sensible and more just policies around how we view drugs and how it relates to cannabis. Plus, one of my favorite features, Artistic Say, introducing activist artists who are stepping up, expressing their sentiments on marijuana.
There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant.
That, along with the latest culture piece that's informing our understanding of this complicated and controversial plant we call marijuana.
Medical cannabis provider. Never go away.
Our first story is how the use of marijuana figures prominently in the conversation of military veterans returning home. Regardless of where you stand on U.S. military actions, this country has a sacred commitment to take care of its military veterans returning from duty, and that's an enormous responsibility. According to the renowned economist, Columbia University professor, author, and Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz, more than 50%, more than half of all active duty service people coming home from tours in Afghanistan and Iraq are suffering from multiple disabilities, which include chronic pain and huge rates of post-traumatic stress. And this is where the conversation turns to the use of marijuana, which has been shown to be extremely helpful with chronic pain and the horrific symptoms of post-traumatic stress. Earlier this year, I attended the Americans for Safe Access Conference in Washington, D.C. ASA promotes safe and legal access to cannabis for therapy and research, and this year, war veterans were front and center. The issue is that the U.S. government is perpetuating unreasonable circumstances for these sick vets by not allowing them access to medical marijuana. Michael Krawitz spoke at the ASA. Michael's a disabled U.S. Air Force veteran who leads Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, an organization that helps vets navigate the red tape of the Veterans Administration hospital system.
It's a damaged system, clearly, and veterans are dealing with that.
One of the biggest challenges, Michael says, is in the states that do not have medical marijuana laws, and that's the majority. In those states, vets are being disrespected for even asking about using marijuana for their symptoms, and often, when discovered that they have been using cannabis, they're cut off from all medical treatment at the VA. If you're a vet, Michael says you need to get active.
It's their role to police this themselves, and we can help them through it, but it's a very simple steps that they can take to make sure that their doctor complies and does, basically just, I suggest righteous indignation. If you're told you failed a drug test, you violated the rules, well, what rules? Put it in writing. Tell me what I violated. Show me, what it is that I've done wrong. You need to put it in writing. This is the federal government. They need to put things in writing.
And another big tip from Michael, don't fight with your VA doctor. He says it won't get you anywhere. Rather, he says, take it to the director of the VA facility. Write him a letter. You can find out more about his organization by checking out their Facebook page, Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. Dr. Sue Sisley, a medical doctor whose specialty has been taking care of vets for the last 20 years, also spoke at the conference. She says she is seeing vets get more politically active.
There's a group of veterans around the country who came together to build awareness about the epidemic of veteran suicide. They decided to use dog tags and engrave the number 22 on these tags to educate the public about this, the very serious public health crisis we have, where veterans are killing themselves at an alarming rate every day. This number, we all know, is falsely low.
She says falsely low because an unknown percentage of suicide deaths are ascribed to accidents rather than the vet taking his own life. If you'd like to support the group with the dog tags and actually get one for yourself, here's their website, I have one. It's a great way to start a conversation about marijuana legalization and its benefits. By the way, Dr. Sisley's well known for pushing back when the University of Arizona Medical School stripped her of her research position and fired her for trying to get a study underway of how cannabis offers relief of symptoms for those who suffer from post-traumatic stress. She's still working it. 2 Hollywood stars, along with First Lady Michelle Obama, missed a golden opportunity to expand the conversation around marijuana therapy for our returning vets. In an exclusive 8-page spread in Glamour, one of the most popular fashion magazines, Mrs. Obama, along with actresses Kerry Washington, star of the TV show Scandal, and Sarah Jessica Parker of Sex and the City fame, came together in the May issue to talk about the importance of taking care of our war veterans as they return home. The women lamented at length about the high rates of post-traumatic stress among veterans, especially female vets, but not once did any of them bring up the marijuana option for treatment. Now, Mrs. Obama does have constraints towing the White House policy framework, but it would have been a brave and bold position for either of the 2 actresses to take. If you want to know more about this, we did a piece on our YouTube channel, MJ Straight Talk, entitled, "Where's the Marijuana Love?"
With all this hype around the green rush that there's big bucks to be made in the cannabis industry, growing, processing, and distributing cannabis, Larisa Bolivar said, wait just one pretty minute, what about the rest of us? What about the regular folks who are not in the industry? Larisa is a longtime activist for cannabis legalization, wondered about how we ensure consumer rights and ethical behavior of cannabis-related businesses. And as a result, she founded the Cannabis Consumers Coalition as a watchdog organization. Thank you very much. Welcome to Marijuana Straight Talk, Larisa.
Thank you for having me.
So what are the most pressing issues as you see it in regard to basically the rest of us who aren't in the cannabis industry?
So as we move forward towards national legalization, we're going to start seeing issues that impact any type of consumer. So with marijuana, it is a substance that you eat, it's a substance that you smoke. So we're going to want to see higher testing standards for chemicals and pesticide use to make sure that what we're ingesting is safe. So safety, public safety is actually always an issue.
And I see the tension there because that means that anybody who sells cannabis in any way, shape, or form needs it tested. And that's expensive to do that. But you're looking at the idea how good it would be to have legislation put into place to make sure that all batches of marijuana are tested.
Absolutely. On the edibles issue, so the marijuana that you eat, that is something that should be required batch testing, just to see that you have consistency in the product, and also to make sure that there's no mold and other type of chemicals that could probably cause some health issues. We don't want consumers to be exposed to things just because they're using something that is not mainstream as other products. We want the same types of standards that other agricultural-based foods have.
And what about workers who are working for these marijuana businesses? The cannabis businesses are growing, and we're going to see some really big guys coming soon, and there are a few out there already. What about the workers? Are there concerns and issues around that?
So with workers, you're going to have your same safety concerns as you would in any type of manufacturing facility. So, when you're growing, you have to have safety. Growing, meaning growing marijuana, you have to have safety standards in place because you're using high voltage lighting, you're also using water, and then you're using chemicals, you're using pesticides. There's a lot of organic pesticides, but you want to be sure that there's some safety measures put in place, which is being considered, wearing goggles, face masks, having safety checklists, those types of things.
Is that happening now?
Oh, yes.
Is it under OSHA?
Yes.
Same thing. And because you are a watchdog and that means gadfly. How are cannabis businesses responding to you? Are you getting a cold shoulder?
Sometimes, yes. But, you know, it's to be expected. You sometimes play the bad guy, but you're being a good guy for somebody else. And when you talk about consumer issues, it sometimes does reflect more costs or more legislation that might be burdensome on the industry. Sometimes not. Sometimes, you know, there's possibility of being too regulated as well. So, but I also get a lot of reception from businesses who are very considerate of their customer, because consumers are customers. So it just depends on the business. I even have worked with some marijuana industry group representatives that, you know, see the need also for for consumer voice. So it balances out. But there have been some businesses who are like, whoa, wait a minute, we're not ready for this. And we've called out some businesses, and, you know, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, where did this consumer group come from? But it's very much needed. Our voices are very critical in this as well.
And what's next for you? How big do you see this getting?
Well, we already have a national presence. My intention, our vision is global. You know, you've got Uruguay and, you know, other countries that are looking at legalization, and it would be nice to have global standards.
Well, Larisa Bolivar, the Ralph Nader of cannabis security and oversight, thank you very much for being with us today. Larisa Bolivar is the founder and executive director of the Cannabis Consumer Coalition. Appreciate it much.
Thank you for having me.
When was the last time you saw a half-decent picture of someone partaking of marijuana and they didn't look like one of these? Generally, we see something like this: irrelevant, marginalized, dark, and menacing. Well, the Drug Policy Alliance, an organization that advocates for the responsible use and regulation of marijuana and other substances based in science and social justice, has come up with an alternative to the stoner images that the mainstream media often, mostly, uses, which perpetuates that ugly connotation of marijuana and those of us who partake of it. Clean cut is what we're seeing. How about an older male smoking marijuana and doing yoga? Or a younger woman with marijuana at home? Or a diverse group of adults smoking marijuana and playing the piano? That's about as dark and menacing as it gets, and actually about as true to real life as it gets. A new day is dawning. You can find these images on the DPA's website at drugpolicy.org. You can use them as long as it's not for commercial use, and give them a photo credit.
As we are understanding, in so many ways, the war on drugs has been the cause of ongoing violations of civil rights and civil liberties in this country. It's been especially devastating to our communities of color. With that in mind, there's a grassroots movement among college students across this country, and in fact, internationally, to push for an end to the war on drugs and create sensible and more just policies. This group is called Students for Sensible Drug Policy, or SSDP. It's comprised of student chapters. Any student anywhere can start a chapter on their college campus. And as a young law student, that's exactly what Daniel Garcia did in Denver. And he's here to talk about that with us. Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
What was it within you that ignited the call to do this?
Well, ending the war on drugs was the #1 public policy change, in my opinion, that we needed, and something that I was willing to work for and work towards, because it would help so many other issues here in the States and also across the world.
And I know that your heritage is Mexican.
Yes.
And you are a Mexican-American, first generation, as I understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're kind of standing on this side and looking over across, and you have relatives, you have family friends. How has that informed your stance on the war on drugs?
Well, it's informed me in a more visceral and personal matter. I had a cousin recently that was gunned down in Oaxaca, and he just happened to be sitting next to the wrong person at the wrong time at the wrong cafe.
Where does Students for Sensible Drug Policy stand on legalizing cannabis? I mean, how does the association or the organization look at it?
SSDP as a whole, as an international organization, is for the favoring of legalization of marijuana. The specifics to that they do not get into. Whenever an initiative or legislation comes up, they decide if it's something that they want to support, like with the phone banking system that they did this year, with the recreational initiatives in Oregon, Alaska, and DC, and with the medical marijuana initiative in Florida.
Phone banking from the students
Yes.
organization. So what I'm hearing is that this is actually drawing students to become more politically active.
Yes, it is the #1 student organization for people who are interested in drug policy and reforming those policies and everything else that's involved with that. The school to prison pipeline is one of those things. Psychedelic therapies is another thing that we talk about as well. So there's just a wide ranging of issues within drug policy and not just cannabis.
And you're in every state. It's not like you're only in the states that, for instance, where there's actually cannabis legalization unfolding.
Yeah, we're in every state, and we are in several countries across the world, including Mexico as well. We have a pretty strong chapter in Mexico City. And the stronger chapters are actually in states that do not have strong cannabis policies, where the drug policies there are more draconian. That's where we tend to have the most active SSDP members and chapters.
I see. For anyone wanting to get involved with SSDP, do you have some suggestions on that?
Yeah, we have an awesome website. It's ssdp.org. We just revamped it recently, and it looks great. And there's a lot of resources.
That's important.
Yes, right. There's a lot of resources available there, materials that you can print out, and contact information. They have regional coordinators, so if you're somebody that is on the Pacific side or at the Atlantic coast or in the Mountain Plains region, there is somebody that's specifically assigned to that region and be in touch with you and keep you looped into the national and international actions that the organization does.
How's the makeup of the organization as far as you're Mexican American? What about other people of color involved in this? Are you attracting?
Yes, one of the principles that we try to focus on at SSDP is diversity, and knowing that most of the people who suffer the consequences of the drug war tend to be people of color. And so it's very important to have that perspective in our organization, so that when moving forward, when we reform these things, it is in a manner where it is benefiting those who's hurt the most.
No question, yes. You, Daniel Garcia, are currently waiting to take your bar exam. You've already graduated from law school.
Yes.
Has your work with SSDP inspired you toward any particular direction in law?
Yes, it's inspired me to take a more public role in my legal career as opposed to a private role, to make myself available to the members of the community that are marginalized, and putting in more time towards that as opposed to privatizing my legal career, if you will.
And we hope that you make a wonderful salary from doing that in that public sector.
Well, I consider salary to be self-benefit as well, and the the joy of helping somebody else and planting a tree whose shade you probably won't get to enjoy, not to be too cliche about it.
I love it. And so as we say, it's about doing well by doing good.
Exactly.
Oh, Daniel Garcia, it's been a treat talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Daniel Garcia, founder of the Denver Law Students for Sensible Drug Policy.
One of the features we're introducing on Marijuana Straight Talk is Artistic Say, where activist artists are sharing their sentiments on cannabis. If you have a work of art that you'd like to introduce to our MST audience, we're giving you our contact information to do just that, whether it's singing, rapping, poetry slamming, or even non-performance art. This episode, we're featuring Highah Seekah. Seekah was born in Jamaica and moved to the States as a teenager. His mission is to create songs that inspire reflection and introspection. We think he's really hit the moon with this one, Free Up the Hemp.
They say to free up the hemp.
What do the people want?
Free up the hemp.
Free up the hemp.
It was created for the people. It's indivisible. There's so many good reasons. Industry and medicine. It's everywhere in the media. Them ya God-given divine seed, yeah. Going out to world leaders. Feature. The desire is a burning flame. Them say legalization of ganja, push Mary Jane. Them say legalize hemp the same. One plant, many uses, many names. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. Sustainable economy. Planting hemp makes perfect sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. Cannabis sativa is neither a bad thing nor a drug. It's cleaner, it's greener. Enough people them criminalize and stuff. Hemp represent a great opportunity. Good products, more jobs and unity. Grant the people immunity to grow the plant with impunity. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. To save the world, a hemp industry makes sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. To create it for the people, and it's indivisible. There's so many good reasons. Industry and medicine. It's everywhere in the media. Them ya God-given divine seed, yeah. Listen up, you world leaders. Free up the cannabis sativa. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. Real sustainable economy. Planting hemp makes perfect sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. The desire is a burning flame. Them say legalization of ganja, push Mary Jane. Them say legalize hemp the same. One plant, many uses, many names. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. Real sustainable economy. Planting hemp makes perfect sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. To save the world, a hemp industry makes sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. There's global consensus. Cannabis is what the people want. Allow the farmers their God-given rights to plant. It's good for the world. It makes so much sense. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. Free up the hemp. Babylon, free up the hemp.
Highah Seekah with his original song, Free Up the Hemp, which we found to be quite the handcrafted piece of work. If you are or know of an artist who has something to say about cannabis as it relates to our culture and would like to be considered for showcasing it here, please get in touch with us. And if you have one, give us a link to your work. This is a space for you to have your say. Just keep it clean and respectful. You could also weigh in on our YouTube channel at MJ Straight Talk, Twitter and Facebook as well. Thanks. I want want to say thanks to you for connecting. It's really helpful to get your emails and tweets and Facebook comments on our first Marijuana Straight Talk pilot that ran in April on free speech. It's so helpful to get your feedback on how we're doing covering cannabis and what you'd like to see more of. Just a small sampling. On our Facebook page, Jay Swan said, "Just happened to see your show on TV. I loved it. A no-nonsense approach to legalize marijuana. Keep telling the truth." And Jay Helm says, "Keep up the revolution of truth. Truthful education is the key to enlightenment." G. Reed adds, "We saw your show for the first time last night. Really enjoyed it. Very informative. It'd be nice if you could extend your show to an hour. A half hour just isn't long enough." Thank you, G. We figure we need to walk before we run, and we're learning to produce these segments in the most inclusive way possible while being efficient and keeping a tight rein on costs. TV's very expensive to produce. So we'll keep you on it as we move along. This from our website, mjstraighttalk.com. Kevin from South Dakota says, "Thanks for the intelligent talk about cannabis. Hope you can keep making more shows. Would love to see and hear about medical marijuana uses. Like to know what NORML is up to and would love to know more about cooking with marijuana." Thanks, Kevin. That's our intention, to show how we're living with this remarkable plant. And it is helpful to hear from you guys on what you want to learn more about. On our Twitter page, MJ Straight Talk, you guys are making us feel like we're really on track. @StonedWife says, she tweeted out, "Found an informative and supportive cannabis show on Free Speech TV. Continue the great work." @Jesus of Cannabis says, "Love your videos, love the fact that we grown adults can discuss marijuana in a grown-up way. There's so much misinformation out there, and your show is a breath of fresh air. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for one of our early editions of Marijuana Straight Talk TV. It's a remarkable time regarding the emergence of this plant in our country. It's a cultural event unlike any other, and we're thrilled to be bringing to you the voices of the professionals and activists who are pioneering our understanding of how this remarkable and controversial plant fits or doesn't fit into our lifestyles. I'm Becca Williams. Please join us for our next edition of Marijuana Straight Talk. And please, if you have thoughts or suggestions on this show, a video or artistic endeavor you'd like to share, please send them to the contact listed here. Join us on our YouTube channel as well, MJ Straight Talk. See you next time.